Let's talk about some of those human behaviors that just feel off. You know, they're not necessarily dangerous or anything, just really, really unsettling. So, what is it about these little moments that can completely throw us for a loop?
We've all been there, right? You're having a conversation, everything seems totally fine, and then boom, you get that weird feeling in your gut. It's like a little warning shot from your brain, and it usually starts with something so simple you almost miss it.
Or maybe it's when someone smiles at exactly the wrong time. These are like tiny glitches in our social programming, and our brains are incredibly good at spotting them. So today, we're going to break down what's really going on under the surface.
Okay, so think about it. From the moment we're born, our brains are basically learning how to read other people. We're subconsciously picking up on everything: tone of voice, body language, facial expressions. And this isn't just about being polite. It's a deep, ancient survival skill we've been fine-tuning for thousands of years.
So, when somebody's behavior doesn't match the pattern we've learned to expect, our brain just freaks out a little. It's not a conscious thought, not at all. It's a primal, deep-seated alarm bell that starts ringing, telling us, hey, something's not right here. Pay attention. Let's dive into one of the biggest categories of this stuff: mismatched emotions. This is when what someone is showing on the outside is completely out of whack with what's happening around them. A real, genuine smile, well, it feels warm, right? It builds trust, it signals that everything is okay. But a forced smile, or even worse, a mistimed one, oh, that feels completely different. It can be just deeply disturbing. You know, we expect people to smile at a birthday party or when they hear good news. But imagine you're talking about something really serious, maybe even sad, and the person you're talking to has this little smile playing on their lips. It just creates this huge sense of unease. Your brain literally doesn't know how to process those two conflicting signals. And here's the real reason that feeling is so powerful. Your brain's number one job is to predict what's going to happen next, to keep you safe. A mismatched emotion makes the other person unpredictable. And in our subconscious mind, unpredictable can easily equal dangerous. But you know, sometimes the unsettling thing isn't what people do, it's what they don't do. And that brings us to our second case: a complete and total lack of an expected emotional reaction. Just imagine telling someone a piece of absolutely shocking news, something that should definitely get a reaction, and they just stare back at you. A blank face, no surprise, no shock, no sadness, nothing. That empty space can be even more unnerving than seeing the wrong reaction. You see, we rely on that emotional feedback to figure out what someone is thinking, and more importantly, what they might do next. When that feedback just isn't there, we're flying blind. And that deep, profound uncertainty is exactly where that uncomfortable feeling comes from. All right, let's move on to some physical actions. The kind of stuff that shatters those unspoken social rules and puts our brains on high alert. This is where things can go from just being confusing to being flat out uncomfortable. Eye contact is, of course, a huge part of how we communicate. It shows we're paying attention, but man, there is a very fine line between being engaged and being, well, intense. In a normal conversation, there's this little dance, right? You look at the person, you glance away for a second, you look back. It's a natural rhythm. But an unbroken stare, that feels invasive. It completely shatters that rhythm and turns a connection into an inspection. And this taps into something really, really old inside of us. I mean, in the animal kingdom, a direct, unbroken stare is often a challenge. It's what happens right before a fight. It's a sign of aggression. And our ancient primal brain still has that wiring. It can't tell if this is a friendly chat or a showdown, so it defaults to feeling threatened. Okay, have you ever been talking to someone and you get the weirdest feeling that they're copying you? Not just agreeing with you, but mirroring your every move? Now, it's totally normal to subconsciously mirror someone's body language when you feel a connection. It's called building rapport. But when it becomes obvious, like when they cross their arms the second after you do, or they start using your exact tone of voice, it just feels incredibly creepy. The reason this behavior is so off-putting is because it just demolishes any sense of an authentic interaction. All of a sudden, you don't feel like you're talking to a real, unique person anymore. It's like you're talking to a strange, living mirror. And that total lack of authenticity is just deeply, deeply unsettling. All right, now for something that isn't an action at all:
In fact, it's the total absence of one. Let's talk about the strange, heavy power of a sudden, unexplained silence.
So picture this. You're having a great chat with someone, the conversation is flowing, it's all good, and then, right after you say something, the other person just stops. They don't reply, their expression doesn't even change, they just go silent.
That silence, it can feel like it lasts an eternity. Your mind just starts racing, trying to figure out what in the world just happened. Look, a comfortable silence with a good friend is one thing, but an abrupt, out-of-nowhere silence makes your brain scramble. You start thinking, did I say something wrong? Did I offend them? What just changed? It's that sudden, massive void of information that feels so incredibly heavy and unsettling. So from a weird smile to an unbroken stare to that heavy silence, all of these things feel unnerving for one single core reason. So let's crack the code and put all the pieces together.
Here's how it works. First, some kind of expected social rule gets broken. Second, because that rule is broken, your brain loses its ability to predict what's going to happen next. Third, our brains process that uncertainty as discomfort, or maybe even a potential threat. And finally, your mind flips into alert mode, making you feel on edge and hyper-aware of everything. When you get right down to it, it's actually a brilliant survival instinct.
I'm willing to bet that as you were listening to this, at least one of these examples felt super familiar. If you've ever had that strange, unsettling feeling during a conversation, trust me, you are not alone. It's a totally universal human experience. If you found this little breakdown interesting, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with a friend who might get a kick out of it, and of course, subscribe for more deep dives into the weird psychology of our everyday lives. And finally, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us, what is the single most unsettling human behavior you've ever witnessed? Let's get a conversation going.